The Iraqis call him a national hero, but the Bible reveals him as a madman. Who was the legendary king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar? A legend and a mystery rolled into one in Babylon Mystery.
Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers, is between the Euphrates and the Tigris, and was once the birthplace of culture. Over 2,500 years ago, a huge metropolis arose in the heart of this region, Babylon. The man who ruled over it made the city one of the wonders of the world, and his name was Nebuchadnezzar. The structures constructed by the king of the Euphrates became myths, like the huge Tower of Babel, which was to appeal to the imagination of generations to come. Today, only rubble remains, but modern archaeologists can gain an understanding of the lost world from the remaining fragments. Latest technology preserves the cuneiform signs, the oldest written language, on thousands of ancient tablets, and scientists can now decipher them. The images can bring the lost city of Babylon back to life, and with it comes a far greater understanding of Nebuchadnezzar and of the cosmology of the Babylonians. The rediscovery of Nebuchadnezzar's world began 100 years ago in Lebanon. The French consul, Henri Poignot, explored the region round El Hermel in search of ancient artistic treasures. At the time, there were many expeditions by colonial administrators. The 19th century was the time of great discoveries. Wherever they went, they seemed to make new and important finds. The legendary city of Troy had been excavated. Egyptian hieroglyphics could be deciphered, and on a hot October day, Henri Poignot made a discovery that would later be acclaimed as an archaeological sensation. Poignot worked on the assumption that the vast empire of Babylon once extended to this point on the shores of the Mediterranean, and he discovered proof. On a stone wall, the portrait of a king had been chiseled out, overpowering a lion with his arm. According to the inscription, it was Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. In the fading light of day, Henri Poignot managed to take a sensational photograph. This is the earliest depiction of Nebuchadnezzar that has been found. The weathered relief in stone unites ancient myths and legends. The kingdom ruled by Nebuchadnezzar benefited from the influence of the two great rivers, the Euphrates and the Tigris. As long ago as 2,500 years before Nebuchadnezzar, works of art were created that bear witness to the cultural achievements of the period and convey a curious picture of the people of that age. The Sumerian people created an entirely new culture heralded by a revolutionary development. The invention of cuneiform script 3,000 years before Christ and the cultural growth that resulted from the invention of a written language was to reach its pinnacle in Nebuchadnezzar's vast empire of Babylon. The new technology spread from ancient Uruk to the whole of Mesopotamia, extending far to the north. It also spread to the Mediterranean in the west and to the cultural sphere of Palestine. Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom extended as far as Egypt and Jerusalem, a veritable empire. Jerusalem, the holy city of David, and ancestral home of all Jews. But 2,600 years ago, it was not the sprawling metropolis that it is today. Protected by the city walls, no more than a few thousand Jews inhabited the small area around the Temple Mount. Nebuchadnezzar was able to breach the stone circle and leveled the holy city. An ancient relief depicts the battle. The Babylonians scaled the walls of the city with the help of fortified towers. The defenders could not match the superior military technology. The invaders had metal armor, stone catapults, and carefully planned strategies. The well-thought-out plans were highly effective, along with the devastating waves of arrows fired by thousands of archers. Nebuchadnezzar used his military might to good effect. Thousands of enemies were mown down, while the survivors were taken to Babylon as prisoners of war. For the Jews, it was a terrible catastrophe, the wrath of God, and Babylon was seen as the hated site of exile, with Babel known as the hotbed of vice. To this day, the remains of Babylon can be seen in Iraq. But at the beginning of the 20th century, all that could be seen of the former metropolis were foundation stones and rubble. The buildings, just 20 years old, are mere reconstructions. But these imaginative edifices do provide some concept of the splendor and glory of an ancient city that was home to 1 million inhabitants. The massive tiled walls of Babylon were counted among the 7 wonders of the ancient world. But it was also claimed that there was a second wonder of the world to be admired in Babylon: the hanging gardens of Princess Semiramis, said to have been the mistress of Nebuchadnezzar, though the historical truth behind this figure is also lost in the fairy tale legends that surround the city. The Greek historian Herodotus, who is believed to have visited Babylon 100 years after the death of Nebuchadnezzar, was one of many people captivated by the capital. Herodotus marveled at the legendary dimensions of the Tower of Babel, though he could only guess as to its function. As he tried to describe the sights, he let his imagination run wild as he enthused about the city with streets 16 meters wide, walls 25 meters thick, and an urban area that stretched for 96 kilometers. And so the metropolis on the Euphrates became the subject of fantastic legends that were passed down through the generations, until the German archaeologist Robert Koldewey decided to search for the truth at the beginning of the last century. When Koldewey reached the presumed site of the ancient city of Babylon, all that could be seen were piles of rubble covered by the drifting desert sands. But Koldewey was certain that the legendary Babel was buried there. The initial excavations revealed remains of vast city walls and confirmed his belief that only the capital of Babylon could have had such mighty defenses. Koldewey had found the remains of the walls that Herodotus had reported with such admiration, and the Babylonians had insulated the tiled structures against humidity by using bitumen, an amazing technological achievement for the day.